Good morning to you from my kitchen. Well, I'm at home today because if I go on location, I'll miss my heating engineer. And yes, last night got home and suddenly discovered that the hot water and the heating were not going to work. So we're very fortunate, aren't we, in the world that we live in today, and that we can just pick up the telephone, phone the repairer, and we don't have to sort of think about it really or wonder if he's going to turn up. We know that, and he gives us a promise. Yes, I'll be there between 8 o'clock and 6, and I'll give you a phone call 30 minutes beforehand, and I'll come there and fix it all up. And I was thinking about faith this morning, and I was thinking, yes, no, we certainly don't need faith for a thing like that, do we? We've been given a promise, and maybe I personally have had this experience several times where it's broken down, and they always turn up. So I never have to think about whether they're going to come or not. And as I say, I was thinking about faith, and last night I was watching the Ten Commandments, a very ancient film that was made in the 1950s. I remember going to see it in the cinema with my parents. I think it was called CinemaScope or something. Anyway, the screen was very large, and it was quite an impressive event. I remember the cinema handing out these enormous programs with the great big words, the Ten Commandments, and fascinating film, and of course based on the truth of what happened to the children of Israel. And of course you see them coming to the edge of the Red Sea, and you see the Egyptian armies following, and I've spoken about this before. The amount of faith that was needed for Moses to lift that staff and raise his hand toward God and to trust that God would do the great miracle that he was expecting. And faith is like that. We have to have faith in a blind alley, don't we? We can't have faith that we can see. And I'd like to just think about that as I share a few scriptures with you this morning, and because we have to sometimes just get to that impossible place before God will work. And all of us have to get there, and we have to trust. And I think this morning what I wanted to get across really initially is that we need to pray for something particular. We need to pray for blindness. That may sound silly, but of course, if we read the scriptures, 2 Corinthians 5 verse 7, it's quite clear we walk by faith and not by sight. So we start off, don't we, by praying for blindness. Praying that the Lord will give us such a heart and such an attitude to trust in him that even though we can't see what we want, we know that it's coming. Hebrews 11 verse 6 tells us, doesn't it? Without faith it is impossible to please him. Whoever would draw near to God must believe he exists and that he rewards those who seek him. Believing he exists and trusting that he will be active in our lives. Active to give us that which we believe, not just because we want something, but because we have in our hearts the desire to serve him. And that if he answers that prayer, it will be to our blessing, and it will change us. It will make something happen to our character if he answers that prayer. It's not just for seeking something for ourselves. I think the hardest thing of all at times is to make sure that when we are coming to God and making our requests known to him, that there's no room for doubt. Hebrews 11:1 is clear. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. To have absolutely not a single shred of doubt. We have to, as soon as we feel that doubt coming upon us, we have to kick it away. And that's God's purpose for our lives. Is that it's like a wall, isn't it? A wall without holes in it. Absolutely solid. So that there's no chink. Yesterday I went to an interesting festival, and we have it quite here in the east of England quite often. We have these things, Norfolk Show and the Suffolk Show, and there are all these stalls and people are demonstrating various things. And yesterday there was a man demonstrating Middle Ages, the armour they used to wear in medieval times in England. And this armour, he was telling us, weighed 5 stone. And it was made of pure metal. And it was a bit like an armadillo, you know, and he sort of did this with his hands. And you could see that every part of his hand was covered. There wasn't a part where a sword could break through that armour and break or penetrate to cause damage. Well, faith is like that, isn't it? We have to wear it like armour. We're all familiar, of course, with the scripture, put on the whole armour of God. Well, if the whole armour of God is on, then that is where our faith stands, isn't it? I'm still believing completely for my healing. You may hear still that my voice isn't quite what it normally is. I'm still a little bit with sinus, but I'm having to trust God without doubt that he will finish the job that he has promised. And so we trust in his word for everything, don't we? And that is what we're doing as we go on with our day. We're simply putting our trust in him. And that's my simple message this morning as we pass over Easter. We come through the other side. Resurrection Day has been. And now we move on, don't we, into the summer, for those of us that are in the Northern Hemisphere. And we look forward to better days, always looking forward to what God's going to do for us and how he's going to move in our lives. Yes, there'll be the downs as well as the ups, but let's just keep looking forward. We know the dark days are coming, but within us is the light of faith, the assurance of things hoped for. So I just want to encourage you with that this morning, and have a blessed day.